What's up? We got Coach live with start sit advice for week 6. We're here to answer all of your questions, see what you guys have. So we'll be on standby to see if anybody has anything for us. We've had a little bit of interaction on the live show, so if anybody has any questions that they want to ask on trades, people that they should start this week versus certain matchups, this is the time. Right now, watching the Baltimore Ravens potentially throw it all away versus the Tennessee Titans. That pick by Lamar was not ideal, but they're at the goal line right now. If they can get a touchdown, should help seal it away. This has been a pretty defensive game, though. Just back and forth, back and forth. While we're waiting for people, go ahead and go over some of my teams. Had some tough decisions this week. Zach Moss over Damian Pierce and Chuba Hubbard and Alexander Madison. It was difficult, not just because of Jonathan Taylor coming back, but also just the the matchup itself versus Jacksonville. They've got a tough run defense. Zach Moss has been doing really well lately. I don't want to get caught in that trap of like starting someone because of what they've done compared to what they're about to do. Alexander Madison has probably one of the best matchups of the day against running backs. And then Damian Pierce versus New Orleans is not an easy start, but he's at least the only running back there. Like, if someone's going to get the ball, it's going to be him. And if there's any chance that Houston's defense is able to lock down New Orleans a little bit, then Damian Pierce should have some value. Chuba Hubbard versus Miami. Miami's been giving up points to running backs all season, so it's smart. At the same time, he's the only running back there. The big thing with Zach Moss is that there's two guys. Miles Sanders is out, so that's why we picked up Chuba Hubbard on the waiver wire. We got Zay Jones out, Justin Jefferson on IR, Miles Sanders on IR, Romeo Dobbs out. Jahan Dotson is a drop candidate on this team. Honestly, I thought I did drop him for somebody else. I did. I dropped him for Jerome Ford. So yeah, Jerome Ford against San Fran. I picked him up because he was on the waiver wire. Um, but it's not necessarily that I'm gonna start him against San Fran. That's a hard matchup, but he doesn't have hard matchups every week. He's gonna go to Indy, Seattle, Arizona, Baltimore, Pitt, Denver. Last couple of weeks of the season, he's got two very solid matchups. So this is a late, season type of grab. We are in it to win it in this league. So we got Tua starting. We got CD, Keenan. Those are all every week starts, basically no matter what the matchup is. Keenan's got a tough matchup, but he's the number one receiver on a team that likes to throw the ball to him specifically. So we're looking to go for him. We went Godwin. Our other options were basically Michael Wilson or Jamison Williams. And Jamison Williams is still looking like a start to us. Fortunately, we'll be able to see if Saquon's playing. I mean, he might be a smarter play than Jamison Williams. Jamison Williams has a ceiling that's untapped. We don't really know how much is the most points that this guy can get into a game. He's going to have Amon-Ra St. Brown this week, which I think helps him because he's not going to be asked to do everything. So that's why we're looking at, even though it's against Tampa, Tampa's middle of the pack against wide receivers this year. They've been in some shootouts, and this one looks like it's going to be one. Alvin Kamara is an every week starter from here on out. Ever since he came back from the suspension, he's looked unbelievable. Ramondre Stevenson, we're given the start this week, mostly because of the Saquon injury. Um, Running back is really light in this league in particular. Saquon and Alvin are going to be able to carry us throughout the rest of the season. And then, between Christian Watson and Romeo Dubs, one of those guys can be able to sneak into my slot week in, week out. It's just deciding which one is going to be the guy. And if both of them are going to be the guy because it's a great matchup, then we can look to, potentially take Godwin out as well. Godwin's a little bit of a scary guy to have to just start every week. He doesn't have the best matchups near the end of the season. And just in general, like, he's done well, but he could have been doing way better. His projections, he's been undershooting every week except for last week. So I'd say tight end is still my biggest problem in this league. Tyler Conklin is who we went with this week versus Philly. Philly is giving up some points to the tight end position. They're almost one of the better matchups. And Dalton Schultz is up against the worst possible matchup in New Orleans. Pat Freiermuth is hurt, and we dropped Hunter Henry off this team. No reason to have him at all rostered. That offense is horrible. He might get a couple touchdowns, but he can give you a goose egg any week as well. So it's just not worth it in the long run to rely on a player like that week in, week out. Whenever Dalton Schultz is just trending up, he's going to have his hardest matchup of the season this week. We'll be able to see what he can do with it. And then we'll be able to see he'll have a bye week, and then he's got a bunch of easy matchups. He's got Arizona, he's got two tough ones at the end, but if they're tight ends, dude. Like, who cares about the matchup, really? It's just about getting players that are a part of the offense. This is the only tight end really on the offense. He's got a rookie quarterback. They are getting more and more connections as the weeks are going on, so we're seeing what we want to see there. We ended up starting Jaleel McLaughlin on this league. He got us 6 points, which is exactly what he was projected. We're giving Joe Mixon, obviously. Joe Mixon's an every week starter. He's on a great offense. He's the best running back on the offense. We're going Chris Olave, Puka Nacua. Olave's got a tough matchup this week. Puka Nacua's an every week starter. And Zay Flowers is playing for us right now. He has exactly his projections so far. So, we're doing okay. For a flex position, 13 points, that's exactly what we want. We talked on the show this week about how Amari Cooper is not startable this week. He's got San Fran. He's also got PJ Walker throwing him the ball, so it's like batting with a freaking weight on your bat. Jerry Jeudy is someone that we're hoping gets traded to another team because either Sean Payton don't like him, or he heard what Steve Smith said this week. Romeo's on bye. Devon Achane is on IR. Jeff Wilson we picked up this week because he's off IR. He's in the 21-day practice window where he can get activated at any point. I don't think that Savon Ahmed is going to be worth. He's the number 4 running back on this team. So if Devon Achane is actually going to miss all the way until week 11, which is what they're saying, then Jeff Wilson's going to have value between here and there. He's just not going to have value this week. Now, Jaleel McLaughlin would have been a good drop for Savon Ahmed. Joe Mixon is our starter at running back, so we needed another running back, but I think that Achane or Jeff Wilson in the meantime are going to be fine in. So we dropping Jaleel McLaughlin for just this week. It doesn't make sense. We're going to drop Savon next week whenever Jeff Wilson's back in the practicing, and he's going to be playing next week. So Jonathan Mingo's just, we're waiting and seeing. He's got a really good matchup again versus the Dolphins, so we should be able to see something from him today. Gardner Minshew we picked up because of Trevor Lawrence's inconsistency. Gardner Minshew is going to be decent this week, and in coming weeks, we might end up needing him. Trevor Lawrence has some tough matchups. I cannot stand ESPN, FYI. So yeah, Indy, New Orleans, Pittsburgh, San Fran, Tennessee, Houston, bunch of tough defenses just in general. Cleveland down here, Tampa Bay, Tennessee again. We'll see if Carolina's got a slouch of a defense whenever they play the Dolphins today. Justin Jefferson in this league as well on IR. Part of the reason that Chris Olave is up here and not down here in the flex. It would be Justin Jefferson and Puka Nacua for the rest of the season. I'll ride them into any matchup. I mean, it's just a volume thing. This guy gets so many freaking looks. Looking at waiver wire for this league, seeing if there's anybody available. We've got Dalvin Cook, trash. Antonio Gibson, trash. Jerick McKinnon, only useful if Isaiah Pacheco gets hurt, and even then, not really useful. Kenneth Gainwell is someone I'm still trying to keep an eye on. He hasn't really performed this season. He did well the first week, and then he sat a week, and then he got half of the looks, and then he got way less than half of the looks, and way less than half of the looks. And he's still getting you, like, running back 3 and 4 numbers. But if Swift goes down, this guy's going to be an every week starter, I think, because that offense is just too good to not have the running back for. Savon Ahmed is available in this league. Craig Reynolds is interesting with Jameer Gibbs being out, but whenever Jameer Gibbs comes back, then he has absolutely no value. Latavius Murray is someone that we've been talking about. He's a touchdown dependent guy, but he's still worth like keeping an eye on, especially if James Cook goes down. Like whoever has James Cook that doesn't have Latavius Murray, it's a little bit silly. I mean, I know James Cook's a young player; he doesn't have injury concerns, but it's still smart to have. Latavius Murray becomes an RB2 if James Cook goes down. I'd want to bet on that if I had James Cook, who's an RB2, RB1 borderline right now. Bobby Trees is available. Wandale Robinson was available. I said like 3 weeks ago to keep an eye on Wandale. Do not keep an eye on Wandale. He plays for an offense that we don't want any a part of. If we drafted Darren Waller, we are just hoping and praying every week, and that's about all that we can do. Michael Gallup being available is a little bit silly. Dallas's offense is high powered. They've played a bunch of good defenses. They've gotten a lot of flack in the media, so this type of thing happens where people drafted this guy and then they drop him. Darnell Mooney, I wouldn't want any part of. He's too boomer bust on an offense that has DJ Moore. DJ Moore is really the only receiver that I want a part of for the Bears. Rashid Shaheed has been interesting. He did really well in the beginning part of the season, and then he's just tapered off. 0 receptions in week 3. I mean, on 2 targets. Only got 6 targets is the highest in one game. We're looking at 7 to 8 on average to know that we need this guy. Hey, there's Andrews showing up for us. Speaking of which, let's look at tight ends. We got Dalton Schultz in this league. Who's our tight end in this league? We're rocking with TJ Hawkinson. So we don't need Dalton Schultz. That's why he's still available, or else we would have him on our team. David Njoku's available. Jonu Smith's available. I think that Dalton Schultz is still the guy I would want the most. David Njoku's got a quarterback that doesn't want to play. Dalton Schultz has a rookie that is playing out of his mind. So Dalton Schultz against New Orleans this week, I'm calling it. He's still going to probably get 3 catches for 30 yards, potentially 2 receptions for a touchdown. Like he's going to get you 6 to 8, and he's projected 9. But if we're being real, like tight ends are not getting us, 9 points a week right now. Like the top of the top are, but it's been difficult to find a guy that's just going to consistently put it up for us. And I think that he's somebody that can. All right. So, Chuba Hubbard is available. He shouldn't be. He should be getting started this week in somebody's team. Donta Foreman is available. He also shouldn't be. He should probably be getting started some week. Tyjae Spears is available. Let's see. What's he done so far? Um, why does it? Okay, at Baltimore, he's got 4 carries for 15 yards and 0 receptions. So, not doing really well this week. He's only going to have the true value whenever Henry goes down sometime in December or January. And then he probably won't have enough time to get going. I'm near done watching this guy and watching to see like what we're going to be able to get from him. Savon Ahmed should be picked up this week. Justice Hill, I just, I mean, 6.5, dude. Like, 8 carries, 3 receptions. He's touched the ball 12 times, 11 times. It's just, I don't know. Cam Akers being available, he should be as well. Bobby Trees, Kendrick Bourne, I wouldn't want any part of New England's offense. Tyler Boyd's interesting, but T. Higgins is going to be coming back, and then he becomes a nothing. They have a really good matchup this week, so potentially worth a start. Rashi Rice is an interesting look. He's been kind of balling a little bit, you know, like he's a rookie, but he's had 4 points, 4 games of 10 plus points. You know, this is a guy that probably should be rostered right now. Looking at my team in this league, I have no need for receiver at all. Tyreek Hill, Amon Ra, DJ Moore, Puka Nakua. This guy's never going to start for me. Like, I have George Pickens. Jamison Williams is my hope and see. I'm ready to drop Michael Wilson on a dime. Honestly, it might have been worth it to drop him for Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice is on a much better offense, and he's proven that he's at least. Is he getting targets? That's what I hate about ESPN. It's not going to show us his targets. Oh, it does for just for receivers though. So yeah, he's getting 5 targets, 7, 5, 5, 4. I mean, that's right in the range of like this is somebody that's interesting. I think that he's worth a waiver wire pickup, to be honest. Let's go ahead and put in a waiver wire right now. Say, fuck you, Michael Wilson, you're gone. Um, all right, we started the Chiefs D this week. They got 16 points. If you started the Chiefs D, then good for you. You knew that they were playing Denver, and Denver looks horrible on all facets of the game, and the Chiefs do not. So we're not starting George Pickens because he's on bye. Rashad White over Joe Mixon is just silly. Joe Mixon is a better running back than Rashad White. Rashad White has a worse matchup than Joe Mixon. On top of that, this game compared to this game, like they should be up and they should be down. So we want running backs where they should be winning the game, or at least that it's a close game, that it's not getting blown out all the time. Man, just me and Justin using those waiver picks, huh? So going and checking out, talk about some available waiver wire. Devontae Adams plays for the team that should not be named. Wandale Robinson plays for another team like that. Noah Brown is the fourth receiver on that team. So 2 guys need to get hurt before he has any real value. This guy is on a team that the only people we want are the running backs. The receivers are all going to be useless because the quarterback is useless. Nelson Aguilar drops the ball too much. He's the third or fourth best option in that offense. Deontay Harry. What's Deontay Harry done so far this year? 4 targets, 3 targets, 3 targets, 2 targets, 2 targets. So he gets less targets than Big Play Gabe, who only has value on the big play. Justin Watson, nah. So not really, we don't want Rashad Bateman. He doesn't have any value. Khalif Raymond, I'm surprised, is still just like he's been subpar, but he's also shown some burst. I guess the 1 target games make him really fall off our radar. Kenneth Gainwell, Samaj P. Ryan, it no longer has any value because Jaleel McLaughlin has popped off for that team, as well as the fact that Javonte Williams was off of injury this week. Raheem Blackshear is only getting picked up because of the injury, and he's never going to have any value. Kendre Miller, never value. Keyshawn Vaughn is a bit interesting because of Rashad White's struggles, but he hasn't done anything. He really only touched the ball week 4. So this week is a big week to evaluate that, see if they're starting to maybe go away from Rashad White. Keyshawn Vaughn, I believe, is a rookie. So this is kind of like, you know, that's whenever you can get a running back for cheap and they become the guy is because they're a rookie. That's all that it really is. Tight ends, we don't want any pass catchers for Tennessee. David Njoku, we already talked about. Tyler Higbee is Mr. Consistent. He's just going to consistently get you what he's going to get you. But 7 targets and 4.2 points, we're not even upset by that. 3 targets last week, not good, especially because that was whenever we got Kupp back. That shows us what we're looking for in the future. That's what scares us away from Tyler Higbee. Offense not to be named. Gerald Everett, if it wasn't for this other dude, Parham, taking so much of Gerald Everett's shit, he would have. I mean, if you put the two of them together, if they were one person, we're looking at a solid fantasy option. But they're not. So, and see if there's anybody on this list. This list is one I expect almost nothing from. Anthony Richardson injury. Yeah, this is probably one of the more competitive leagues that I'm in as far as the waiver wire. So I don't expect much. Jahan Dotson should be available. Michael Gallup is interesting. I mean, he hasn't gotten very many points on weeks because their offense has been so bad. And technically, they were supposed to be good matchups, but they've got some really easy matchups coming into that last stretch. And he is the wide receiver 2 on that team. Noah Brown's gone for a reason. Like, they didn't want him anymore, so he's not there. Rashid Shaheed, we've talked about. DJ Chark, Carolina receiver. Honestly, DJ Chark was interesting going into the season because he was a veteran. Jonathan Mingo's the guy that I'm more interested in because he's a rookie. He just has an uncapped potential, getting 8 targets, 6 targets, 7 targets. Like, he missed a game, and that's part of why his point total is what it is, but the targets are there. So as soon as those targets turn into receptions and yards and touchdowns, he's going to be a fantasy superstar, especially with a rookie quarterback that seems to be feeding him the ball. Justice Hill, we don't like. Zuko Elliott, we don't like. Joshua Kelly, we don't like now that the injury's over. Injury's done for Austin Eckler, so we're not really into Joshua Kelly anymore. And he didn't do anything whenever Eckler was out. 13 attempts, 3 points. 11 attempts, 2 points. 17 attempts, 7 points. If we're rounding up. Um, any running back that's not James Conner just tends to shit the bed, even like whenever James Conner's out. And it's just because like James Conner can barely get 3.5 yards a carry on like 17 attempts a game, and he's a good running back. The other guys can't start over him, and they're not going to be able to get anywhere near his production. So you're not expecting that from this guy. Kenneth Gainwell, Latavius Murray. Yeah, we're kind of seeing the same suspects everywhere. There's not too much difference. Conklin's someone I'm starting this week. We've talked about that, but these two guys are both not touchable. They play for a team that does not throw the ball to the tight end. They only got him to be able to win football games, not to be able to have the next Gronkowski or whatever. Like, that's not at all what they're looking for. Well, we've got 35 minutes before kickoff, so it's time to do all the rituals to make sure that the Dolphins win. So I'll see you guys again next week. We've got an episode coming out tomorrow at 8:30. Tulsi Rose Tea for all of your tea needs. You go to tulsirosetea.com. They deliver tea all the way across the country, and they have over 108 different flavors of tea at tulsirosetea.com. Until next time.